Hi, Jen, and welcome to Entrepreneurcast. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us today.
I am thrilled to be here.
So, Jen, before we get going with the business side of things, tell us a little bit about who are you outside of your business and what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Well, I am really busy with three kids who are 16, 14, and 8. And they're, really busy with activities. So when I'm not working, I'm really a taxi driver and a drill sergeant and a cook and a housekeeper and um, and all that stuff. But I really do. I enjoy it. They're so much fun the older they get. So they sort of drag me into whatever they're doing, whether it's jumping on the trampoline or playing basketball in the backyard. So I love all that. And then my personal interests, I have really gotten into cycling. So I love to ride my bike indoors and outdoors. And I love to rollerblade. And I love to travel. I really like to cook. And I'm kind of a health nut, actually. So for about a year, I've been really hardcore doing this program called Whole30, which is all about like eating whole foods and no sugar, no carbs. I only meant to do it for 30 days, and it ended up lasting like till now, actually over a year. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Amazing. I tried being healthy for some time and I failed miserably. I was missing pizza.
I don't believe that. You're doing something right because you're probably like really young, number one, and number two, your skin is just like radiant. So you're definitely doing something along the good health routine track.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
thinking.
You know what? I'll quickly touch on that actually because I used to have like quite a lot of spots and acne for a lot of years, and I it's actually the products I started using.
Yeah,
And
well, you got to tell us what they are. You can't just like leave it there. Like we want to have Svetlana skin. Hashtag hashtag Svetlana skin. That's run with that.
I'll send you a link later, but yeah, the
Okay.
products I use, it's called Genes. I don't know if you heard about it.
I have heard of Jeunesse.
It's incredible. It literally within 3 days, my skin started clearing out. So you could see my really bad spots on my face red, and like I was planning to give the products to my mom when I bought them, but I just didn't because I fell in love with it, and I do use the nutritional supplements as well. So I guess yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, you should contact them and tell them that they can hire you to be their like poster girl, you know?
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
So, Jen, tell us about your business. What is it that you do, and what inspired you to start it?
Hmm. So what I do is I create online courses that teach people how to use social media and digital tools to grow a business. And I also teach, in addition to the online courses, I teach this at Notre Dame College. And in 2018, I'll be teaching this at Cleveland State University as well. And and what inspired me to do this, and now I also teach people how to create online courses because I've had such a success with it, and I just think everybody has a course inside of them that they can create. And what inspired me was I've always loved technology and the opportunities that technology can bring to us, and I feel like it's so empowering, and that it's still early days. A lot of people know a lot about their subject matter, or they have a successful product or existing business, but they aren't aware that if they use digital media and social tools to get the word out about their business, then it's like adding gasoline in a match. And
Hmm.
so I just want to tell everybody and say, wow, if you did this, and did you know you could target people with Facebook ads? And, I just love to talk about it. So, but it's, I don't know where it began. Honestly, I just have always loved technology. I was the first person, when email first came out, that's how old I am. I was like the first person to get email out of all my friends. And I met my husband online in America Online when nobody was doing that. In fact, I had to lie about it to the rabbi because it was like, I didn't exactly lie. I said we met through a mutual friend. So technically you could say like America Online was our mutual friend. But because people would think that was so weird back then that you met someone online. And yeah, I just always love marketing. I always love technology. So it just made sense that this was sort of going to be my destiny, I guess.
Amazing. That's so funny. I actually met my husband online as well.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. How long have you been married?
Less than a year. We got married in September, and we met last April. So we've been together for just over a year, and it happened all very fast. So,
Same here. It was
oh
so
my God.
fast because what I tell people is that the thing about when you meet someone online, and I don't know, I guess it's still true today, but it makes so much sense if you think about it, because when you meet someone the other way, like at a bar or wherever, the way that you make that first connection is really physical attraction. It's based on, I mean, physical attraction is certainly important, but when you meet someone online, in our case, I didn't even see a picture of him. And
Wow.
we exchanged emails, and he was such a good communicator. He was such a good writer. And then we went straight from email to some long phone calls. And on those phone calls, we got all the important stuff out of the way, right? So the only thing left was to see if we were physically attracted to each other. And so we had the real date after we got all that big stuff out of the way. So and he had a really good voice, so I'd kind of already fallen in love with his voice, you know. And by now I had seen a picture of him before, you know, because
Yeah.
come on, like fair's fair. There is something like I needed to see a picture first. So when we met in person, you know, all that was so we needed to see if there was that chemistry, but it wasn't like in real life when you meet someone, you find out on the fourth date that, oh, they have this closet full of like baggage,
Mm.
or oh, by the way, you know, whatever, I'm married, you know, or
Yeah.
some other horrible thing. So yeah, so I just think it's a great way. I think it's a great, I recommend it highly personally.
Definitely. And as we already went into the dating side of things, I would just add on to it that, I think when you meet someone online and when you talk on the phone, you just need to be super straight and ask all the questions in advance before meeting them, because that's exactly what I did. I asked so many questions, I bombarded him, and I was so upfront, and I said, look, are you the kind of guy who's going to, date a girl for years and years and waste her time, or are you more or less ready to commit? And he said, I'm ready to commit, and he proposed to me in less than 8 months.
Oh my God. I mean, it's like same. And that's such a good point. Okay. We need to create an online course about how to find the right mate online. Because you wouldn't go into a job interview
Mm.
and not at like I wouldn't waste my time going to a second job interview if I didn't know certain things. What's the salary? You know, what are you going to pay me? Like, what are the requirements? So it's sort of the same thing. Like there was a list I had in my mind anyway of what I was absolutely not going to settle for, and a few things that absolutely were, if these requirements weren't met, were deal breakers.
Yeah.
So why waste your time? You know, if you're serious about finding a partner, you got to ask those questions right out of the gate. You're exactly right.
Amazing. Let's do it. Let's create the course together.
Okay, I'm in. I really think it would sell for real.
Yeah. So, Jen, between being a mommy and a wife and, cycling and creating courses and helping people get stuff out of their heads and into the social media, what would you say your typical day looks like?
Oh, so I get up early, but I'm not by nature a morning person. I read Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, and I turned myself into a morning person. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with it, but essentially it's having a morning routine, and not just getting up early so that you can sit quietly and have your coffee, which is not a bad reason to get up early, but to really have a plan laid out of what you're going to do in your morning. So it's sort of like if everything else falls apart in the rest of the day, I've gotten so much accomplished between like 5 and 7 a.m. that, you know, I really almost squeezed in a whole day's worth of stuff that's good for me, whether it's yoga, exercise, reading, writing in my journal, planning out my blog topics. There's lots of things that I do. So that's the morning. Then I hit the office after my oldest kid gets on the bus at 9 a.m. and I'm in my studio rather at 9:30 in the morning. She gets on at about 9, so sometimes I'm here like 9:15, but no later than 9:30. And my favorite new discovery is that one thing that I was really wrestling with as an online entrepreneur is that for the last couple of years, I've been sitting on my tushy in front of the computer for, 8 hours a day or however many hours and not moving around. And I'm not really a heavy person. And so I was alarmed when my ankles were actually starting to swell. Okay, that freaked me out because if you sit for a very long period of time, it's very bad for you. As they say, sitting is the new smoking. So a few months ago, I got a standing desk and I started standing. Well, I'm standing right now. And I started standing as I started doing my work. And that was kind of hard to get used to. It took about a week of that. And then I thought, okay, this is good, but I'm not getting any credit on my Fitbit. Okay, I'm very competitive. And I wasn't getting any credit on my Fitbit. So I got one of these, I'm standing on it actually now, a treadmill that goes underneath my desk. So I feel like I found the holy grail, the answer to this horrible guilt that I had of like sitting all day and not walking anymore, because when I'm done with work, it's time for the kids. It's like if I'm going to choose work or going for an hour-long walk, I'm always going to choose work because I have so much to do. Yeah. So now I can combine the two, and it's really doable. I did not think I could walk and talk and write while I'm not walking now because I didn't want the sound is kind of loud, but I will be walking all day long. And then I come in and I check in with my team. So I have a full-time assistant and a part-time person, and we communicate on Trello. So I'll check in on the Trello board with them. They're in the Philippines, so they're always 12 hours ahead of me. And so usually they stay up pretty late. So I'll work with them on things that need to be taken care of. And then each of my days really has a theme. So, Fridays is Financial Fridays. So I'm doing things that have to do with my finances, which I hate. I love Friday, but I hate doing finances. And, there's usually a day when I do, like if I'm going to be on a podcast or anything like that, I usually do that on Wednesdays. Just so happens it's Monday today. Is it Monday today? Yeah, it's Monday today. And so it just really depends on what the theme of that day is what I'm doing on any given day. But I try to follow Amy Porterfield's Tiger Time model, where you create your content on the front end of your day and you mute your Facebook and you mute everything. And so from like that time after I check in with my team, after that until about lunchtime is usually whatever the day is a period of creation. Because after that, I'm not creative anymore. And it's a better time to do tasks.
And then I guess you go home and you spend time with your babies.
Oh yeah, there's the rest of the day after work. Yeah. So I usually am rushing out the door to meet the school bus, and the older two walk home from school, and then the 8-year-old takes the school bus. So I meet her school bus, and then we come in and just have a snack, and then we do homework, and then it's activities. Then it's time to start dinner. And then I used to bring my laptop home and work while all that was going on. And I had a real reckoning with my oldest child, who basically set me straight. He said, he's kind of a stoic kid and he doesn't cry, easily, but we had like a really challenging day where everything had to sort of like flow just so we could meet all of these appointments that we had that day. And he forgot about it and he stayed late after school, which screwed up the whole rest of the day. And I overreacted when he got home, and then we ended up having an argument. And then when things calmed down, he got quiet. He said, Mom, I know I'm the oldest and you think I don't need you anymore, but I really do need you a lot. And his lips started trembling, and he said, and by the way, you're just not really any fun anymore. And just so you know, you're just really not very much fun to be around. Because he was right. I mean, even if I was home, I was kind of checked out because I was constantly on the phone and on the computer and on my laptop, and and for what? Like, and he's now 16. He'll be off to college in a couple of years. So I had to force myself to, like, once I leave here at about 3 o'clock, that unless it's really an emergency or I'm in the middle of a launch, I give myself permission during launch time. I really try not to do any work at all. And then we have dinner, watch some TV, and then in bed pretty early. That's my life.
Awesome. So, Jen, throughout our entrepreneurial and business journey, we come across a lot of challenges. What would you say was your greatest challenge, and how did you manage to overcome it?
My greatest challenge was figuring out how in the heck I was going to grow my business at the pace that I was at for the first year or two. It was growing, but I would spend a day creating images in Canva and doing all these little tasks that are not revenue producing. So everything took a really long time. That was really frustrating. And it dawned on me that, and actually, I was in a program called the 90-Day Year that really, really changed everything for me. But that's when I learned that if I spend my days doing non-revenue producing tasks, then I'm not going to make any money. And that's, and it's kind of a big no-brainer. And yet here I was spending my day doing busy work. And when we do that busy work, it feels like we're getting a lot accomplished because we can check off 30 things, right, off the list. Oh, yes, I did these 30 things. But really, how many of those 30 things were things only you could do? And how many of those things could you have easily passed off to someone else? But, we're all guilty of thinking no one's going to do it as well as we do. Or we say, and I know I did, well, by the time I explain to someone what it is I do, then I might as well do it myself. Or I don't really have enough of a structure in my business to bring someone on. Like, I don't even know what I would give them. All those things were the things that I thought. But I just went for it. And as I did this, I created a system that I then taught to other people because it was so game changing. And so I developed a system that allowed me to hire the team that I told you about earlier very affordably, and create a system for not only finding the right people and making sure that I find the right people, but onboarding them in such a way that it's like automated. And it was everything. So even though that's not, the hiring and training and human resources stuff is not real, or team development is not really in my wheelhouse of expertise, it was so amazing. I had to just share it with everybody. So I created like a little mini course to teach other people how to do it. And I swear, I get so many emails from people that are like, that changed everything for me. I mean, more than probably any of my courses, people are like, that just changed my whole business. Because once you can pass off that stuff, you get to do the stuff like write the webinar that only you can write, to make those phone calls, to have those joint ventures with potential. I mean, those are $10,000 an hour tasks that no one else can do for you. That's, your genius, your talent. Your talent is not creating Canva images unless you're a graphic designer. And even then, you can't be doing all those little tasks. Sometimes some of us really like the busyness of business, just the being in business is enough for a lot of people, that it just feels good to be in that place, but you just can't really, it's not sustainable really. So that was my biggest challenge, and that was how I would say, and that was definitely how I overcame it. And I love my team, and I want to grow it even more.
So we already heard about your challenges and how you dealt with it, but I'm sure as a business owner, you had a lot of successes. What would you say was your greatest success?
Oh gosh. I think we as entrepreneurs are really bad about that, right? It's really, I think if we did keep a list of our successes, it would make for much happier entrepreneurs, because I think there's a lot that's accomplished but we're constantly looking at what's left to do. But I don't know. I would just say one of the things that made me really happy was when I sent a tweet to, I wanted to be on stage, and I really didn't have much of a following, but I knew that I could do this, and I wanted to be on stage at this big conference called Agents of Change in Maine. And I had heard Rich Brooks, the guy who's in charge of this conference, who has a really great podcast, and he was being interviewed by Amy Porterfield. And he mentioned that he didn't have anyone to be a LinkedIn expert on his on the podcast. So I ran home and I tweeted him and said, I'll be your LinkedIn expert if you need one. And he tweeted back and said, well, he'd already found someone. He's good. And so then I took it a couple of steps further, and I took a video. I sent him a video tweet and just said, told him a little more about myself. And then he said, maybe we could start with having you on my podcast. And so I didn't want to lose that opportunity. While it was still fresh in my mind. So I created a pretty cool animation that turned me into a cartoon character, and told him like a 2-minute story of who I was and my credentials and why I would be a good addition. And then he brought me onto his podcast, which is how he screens people for the conference. And then the podcast went well, and he brought me to the conference, and I was able to speak this past September. And in and of itself, it doesn't seem like that big of a win, but what it meant was it was huge, because it opened up so many other doors for me once I got on that stage, because I was there with John Lee Dumas, Chris Brogan. I mean, big names, and just little old me, So it was huge. And it was also a great message it really validated what my central message is to everyone anyway. And that is, anything is possible. You can't sit around and wait for people to toot your horn. It's not about being braggadocious or whatever. You can advocate for yourself and be your own cheerleader in a way that is not, pretentious. And actually it's really necessary, because who's going to do it for you? No one. And so you got to just, what's the worst that can happen? He would have said no. So what? That would have been the worst that could have happened. So, I have an online group called The Front Row, and I'm developing another product around that soon, because the concept of the front row means, and I love it, it means that you take a front seat, in class, in a concert, in a conference, you go and take that front seat because, and of course it's a metaphor for life, because when you sit on the front row, you see more, you hear it first. And it means it's symbolic in saying, like, I'm all in, like, here I am, I'm all in, I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to give it my best shot. And so that's why it was such a win for me, because it really brought in all that, it's just, it's just one of my favorite stories, because and it's still opening doors for me all the time.
Incredible. So, Jen, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we obviously wouldn't be able to run our businesses without ideas. So, where would you say you come up with your best ideas?
Walking, definitely walking. But it's funny, because as entrepreneurs, we just don't have any shortage of ideas, right? I mean, ideas are not the problem. Like, lack of ideas are not the problem. It's like, it's taking action. That's where I think that's where most of us have the biggest challenge. But ideas, usually when I'm walking and listening to a podcast, or when I'm stuck, when I'm really feeling stuck, I like to just completely take myself out of my studio, out of my usual environment, and pick up a book or a magazine that I would never ordinarily read, and then the ideas just start coming like too much. Really, just it's that's where I always go. But yeah, walking, because I don't know what it is about it, but it's.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and I hate typing on my phone. I have kind of fat fingers, so I'll open up my Evernote and then it never comes out right. So I usually just record I hit record and I'll just say, blog post idea, this, or course idea, this. And by the time I come home, I have tons of notes.
Amazing. So, Jen, throughout our journey, we also come across a lot of people who inspire us. And I'm sure you are an inspiration to many. But you yourself, do you have any so called personal heroes or people who inspire you?
Well, I'll tell you that Seth Godin said something that that to this day, every time I say it or read it, inspires me, and I use it all the time. And he said, "How can you squander one more day not taking advantage of the greatest shift of our generation? How dare you settle for less when the world has made it so easy for you to be remarkable?" So that is, I wish I would have said it, because I got to quote Seth Godin all the time. It's his quote, not mine, but I could have written that because that is exactly how I feel. So it's not so much that he inspires me, but those words inspire me. And then, over the course of my life, there have been teachers. Of course, my mom is a huge inspiration. And then in business, my business, the people who have inspired me in business, specifically Amy Porterfield, really sort of lit the path for me. And what's so funny, I have to tell you, I thought about this yesterday. I just came back from the Kentucky Derby, and we had these great VIP passes through my husband, and we just ended up in this area that we had all these famous people. Jordan Sparks and the guy from Adrian Guerrero or whatever, he's the lead guy in Entourage, and Harry Connick Jr. and all these sports people, Tony Romo, and I got my picture with each of them, and I talked to them, and they were, for 2 days, we were all in this sort of like suite together, and it was great. Okay. It was so much fun. When I saw Amy Porterfield, however, at Social Media Marketing World, I could not open my mouth to speak. I could not, she was right in front of me speaking at a podium. Her podium was right in front of me because that's where I sit, front row always. And I was in the front row, front and center, to watch Amy Porterfield speak at Social Media Marketing World. And I could not open my mouth to take a picture with her, to speak to her, because I love her so much. Because I just think she's exceptional in every way. And I learned about how to when you find someone that inspires you and it has a business that you want, if you just pattern yourself, follow what they're doing, not copy their content, but follow their blueprint. And that's basically the track that I'm on. And because of her, it's worked out really well for me. So I would definitely say Amy Porterfield in business has been the most inspiring to me.
So Jen, you've been in business for a while, and you have a lot of experience and wisdom, and I've learned a lot from you. So you obviously know what you're doing and what you're talking about. So out of your experience and out of your wisdom, could you share with us your top 3 tips and strategies in business to drive business and life forward for any entrepreneur or business owner who's listening to us today?
My top 3 business tips?
Yeah.
Well, as it relates to digital media, which is what I like to talk about, and social media, first of all, what I hear a lot. In fact, just before we jumped online, I got someone message me and said, "Help, I don't know where to start. I just don't know where to." Depending on what you're reading or what you're listening or what you're watching, you're going to get 1,000 different messages. And I also get bombarded with this information. None of it that. But as it relates to social media, think about is wherever you, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or wherever you are, make sure, and LinkedIn, make sure you look as you can in each of those places. But don't go and start a bunch of social media accounts if you really have, number one, no joy on those accounts. Like you hate it. It's like pulling teeth. You don't like spending time on it. Don't open a social media account there. But if you already have one open, make sure you look as good as you possibly can, meaning make sure that everything is optimized as much as possible, that you have your links there. LinkedIn is really a crucial one because many of us in the online space think that LinkedIn is pointless. It's for the people who wear the suits and the bankers, and we don't need that. And actually, that's couldn't be farthest from the truth, because if you log out of your browser and or go incognito and then go and Google yourself, you will see if you have a LinkedIn account, it's going to be one of the first things that pops up. And while we would like for people to see us where we want them to see us on that $5,000 website we just created, that's so beautiful, that's where we want them to go, doesn't really matter. They're going to go where Google takes them. And if that's LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you look really good over there. And Facebook and so on and so forth. So that's number one, because I see that that's just the easiest, most low-hanging fruit I think a lot of people miss. Make it super easy for people to contact you. On your Facebook profile, there needs to be, in the About Me section, a link to your website, to your Facebook business page. Number two would be start building your audience yesterday. So don't wait until you feel like you're an expert to build your audience, or until you feel like you have just the right amount of content. You already have something of value to offer to someone who knows less than you. So you know more than someone about something. So start talking about it. Live streaming is the fastest way to grow an audience right now. And in just a few months, I mean, it's not even going to need to be said. It'll just be as obvious as saying that electricity is good to have in your house. I mean, live streaming is absolutely essential, I think, for all of us. And the sooner you can get with that program, the better off you will be. And just start building your audience. And if you have one person show up for your webinar, or 1,000 people show up for your webinar, you go into that webinar and you pretend you have 1,000 people in the web. I mean, so if you just have one person, you pretend that there's 1,000, because when you have that mindset of just delivering like just killer value to people, you just trust it's going to come back to you. You know, I guess in other words, that would lead me to tip 3, is that slow and steady wins the race. So yeah, live streaming is the fastest way to build the audience, but giving that consistent, great content over time is going to reward you, but it doesn't happen overnight. And as you build an audience, even if your audience is small, they will buy from you. You don't have to have an email list of thousands of people to sell. When I first launched my social media summer camp, I didn't even have, I need to look this up, but I bet I had 800 people on my email list. And I did really well on my first launch of social media summer camp. So I think that's 3 tips.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Jen.
Sure.
And also throughout your journey, did you come across any kind of resources that you could share with us that helped you throughout your business?
Well, I actually have a link on my website of all the tools that I use and love. If I had to pick my favorite, like my top tools that I just couldn't live without, God. Okay, so number one would be I've been using meetedgar.com. But here's the thing, and the reason, so what MeetEdgar does is it allows you to put in a bunch of content, you know, your blog posts and memes and photos and videos and all this great stuff. And well, actually not so much videos natively, just links to videos. And it will say, like Hootsuite, which most people are familiar with, it will send this information out across all the channels that you want to, according to a schedule that you want to send them out on. However, the difference between other tools like Hootsuite is that you can put this on an evergreen cycle. So if you go to the trouble of creating this great tutorial or blog post, you don't want it to just be a once and done. You want to make sure people have an opportunity to see that many times over. So I've used MeetEdgar for a couple of years now, and it's really what I call my marketing machine. I mean, I just love it. I couldn't live without it. However, they increased their price significantly, like by 40%, I think. And right about that time, a new tool popped up called Recur Post, Recurpost. And actually, I have a code I can give you, I think that'll give your users a free month. Um, and it is an affiliate link because this person was part of my group is how I found out about it. And I just started promoting it everywhere. And he's like, here, well, you might as well be an affiliate, not the other way around, because I only am an affiliate for products that I absolutely love. And so not only does Recur Post do every single thing that Meet Edgar does, but it also, and nobody's tool does this, allows you to upload video natively one time. And what I mean by that is it's going to look beautiful across all channels, as opposed to any other aggregator. If you do that, it's just going to show up as a link. So you upload it one time and the video is going to look beautiful everywhere. And and I already said it's like at least 40% cheaper than Meet Edgar. And it does every single thing Edgar does. So I'm not promoting Meet Edgar anymore. Really just Recur Post. So I couldn't live without that one. The other one is I use Leadpage and Instapage for landing pages. Instapage is more beautiful than lead pages, so you can really create these gorgeous landing pages. But the reason I use both is because lead pages is really plug and play, and they have lead boxes, which means I use those on my blog post, where basically it's just sort of like one little pop-up box that allows people to put their name and email address to opt in to whatever it is you're offering. But Instapage, I keep Instapage separately because it makes beautiful sales pages. But I would say if you're a new entrepreneur starting out off and your budget is limited, just stick with lead pages. Instapage is just, it's something nice to have, but you definitely don't, it's not a must have. And then my third favorite tool is ConvertKit. That's what I use as my email service provider. And it's not a full-on custom CRM, meaning customer relationship manager. So it doesn't it doesn't allow you to enter in things like it doesn't have as many fields, I guess, as a CRM, but it's fantastic because it allows you to really create these great funnels, simple funnels, and it's nice and clean and simple on your eyes. You know, I've tried other systems like this, and they're just so blingy, and for me, like, I just really like to simplify things and streamline things as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jen.
Sure.
Jen, I talk to a lot of people who say that at some point in life, they came across a book that changed their life. Did you have such a book? And if you did, what was it?
Well, the one that I met, I mean, in terms of like truly changing my life, it would be Miracle Morning, because it's not like it's a great, you know, it's not like it's some beautifully written piece of literature. You could read it in probably 2 hours, but it just gives you everything you need to become a morning person and get the most out of your day and and then ultimately out of your life, right? So that one, and then the second one, well, two more that were truly life-changing. The second one was It Starts With Food, the Whole30 book that got me on this journey to be on this amazing health journey that I've been on. So that was great. And then the other one was sort of an accident, but it's called The Naked Mind. And it is, or A Naked Mind, The Naked Mind or A Naked Mind. And it's actually all about alcohol. And so I'll just leave it at that. It's not like after I read it, I said, oh, I'm never going to drink again. But it really opened my eyes to the truth about like how the alcohol industry really fools us into a lot of things. And so as an experiment, I just said, okay, I'm just going to see about this not drinking thing, and have left it open for myself to drink again if I want to. Like I said, when I was at the Kentucky Derby. I'm like, I might have a mint julep when I'm at the Kentucky Derby, or I might not. And I thought I was going to, but then I just decided, no, now I've been on this experiment for a year. I'm not gonna do it. So that's all I'll say about that. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting read.
Brilliant. Cool. I think I should read that. Uh, so Jen, you've been in business for a while. You've gone through your ups and downs. You've created a successful business. You got your team. You have raving fans, who love you and ask you, for help and to them overcome their challenges. So you've done a lot. But what's next for you? What's your next big goal, dream, aim? And if there is someone listening today who could potentially help you get there, who would it be?
Ooh, okay. So my next big thing is in development, and that is a membership site based on the Front Row. So the Front Row is my free online community, and that really might be the best thing that I've ever done as an entrepreneur. The smartest thing I ever did as an entrepreneur, because this group is, having building your own community like that gives you an opportunity to really let people see you. And now with live streaming and being able to go into the group and actually just jump in on a moment's notice on a whim and be like, hello, guys, people feel like they really know you. And so it's been wonderful. But what I'd like to do is really focus more on that and really be able to develop content just for the Front Row. But obviously, in order to do that, it needs to be monetized, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to create so much content and trainings and all that. So that's what's going to happen, is the Front Row is going to become a membership site. And that requires a lot of work, because I want to make sure and do that just right. So I'm doing that. And then the other one is writing my book. So I've already, found the company who's going to be publishing the book. And so in terms of who could help me, well, basically, I mean, I'm still structuring this membership site, and I'm not an expert on membership sites. So I think an expert on membership sites would be somebody I'd love to have a conversation with.
Amazing. So Jen, we are coming to the end of the interview, which was an incredible interview. Really enjoyed our chat today. But before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else you would like to share with us or advise on today?
Advice. Yeah. The advice I would like to share is the advice that I have given myself, and that is, I think that what is very difficult for people in the online space is that because there's so much information that is coming at us, and because there's always going to be someone who does it better, right? Or you perceive them as doing it better than you're doing, can be very discouraging. And what I would say is start paying attention to those times when you're online and you start to feel bad. It might be that you're receiving emails from someone that isn't doing anything for you. They might be a peer, because we all sign up for our peers email list to see what they're doing and how they're doing it, and that's a great way to learn. But it can also bring you down, because it makes you feel less than. And if you find that happening to yourself, unsubscribe, unfollow on Facebook, not unfriend. I'm not saying unfriend people, but if you're just following, unfollow them on Facebook, and you'll be amazed how much better you feel suddenly, because that's not constantly in your face. And I would say that applies to life too, right? In the real world. Like if you find yourself around people who are really negative and you start noticing that you're feeling bad, like pay attention and then just remove those people from your life. That's my advice. And then the other thing I didn't mention was that my podcast will be launching soon, and it's called the Front Row Entrepreneur. And we'll be talking to people who are on the front row of business, and everybody listening will have a front row seat for that.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Jen. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been a great pleasure to have you. For anyone who would like to get in touch or would like to follow you in any way, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, the best way to find me would be just to go over to my website, which is jenlehner.com, and that's JenLehner.com. And from there, you can click over and check out the front row, or send me an email, or call me, or send me an instant message, or tweet me. So I look forward to meeting your listeners.
Amazing. Thank you again, Jen. It's been incredible, and hopefully,
Thank
I
you.
will see you soon and we'll get on that course.
Yay, that sounds good. Thank you. It was great being here.